My name is Matt Lister. I am a professional Airtable developer and I run a blog called Flowcode where I'm going to be sharing more advanced Airtable tips. So if you are already pretty familiar with Airtable and want some more advanced features, then do subscribe and I'll share them with you. What I'm going to share with you today is what you can do with emojis. So for the new year, I was trying to think up what functions in Airtable I've never used. And the one I came up with is the repeat function. So the repeat function is part of formulas. And it takes a string and a number, and it returns a repetition of that string by the number that you've given it. So you don't put in repeat, it's just rept, and you'll see takes a string and a number. And I was wondering how I could use it because I don't think I've ever used this before. And something I came up with was that if we pass in a green block emoji and then comma the number, which is the number field level, then what we get out of it is a chart that's dynamic in place in a field, and that's quite good. And we could also make it negative by just nesting this in an if condition. So we say if level is greater than 0, do this. Otherwise, and we'll copy it, but we're going to replace the block with a red block. Do this. Okay, and we need to allow negative numbers in the level so that we can pass numbers, negative numbers. And what you'll notice is this won't work, I don't think. We'll get an error, and that's because the repeat function doesn't take negative numbers. So what you have to do is turn this level here into a positive number, which you can do with the absolute function. So if you remember from school maths, an absolute of a number is just the value independent of the sign. So by passing in the absolute level, it now accepts -2. And you can see we've got these good little graphs now. And if we wanted to, we could also tag on the number itself. So on the end of this, we could just ampersand. Because this is a string, it will we can concatenate things onto it. So let's stick the level on there as well. And then we've got these little graphs. So that's a way to use the repeat function, which I've never done before. And then I was thinking how else we might use emojis. So I thought one good way might be as a little progress tracker of some kind. So let's call this moonshot. And what we could have is a string of periods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 of them. And at the end, I'm going to put a little moon. Okay, and then we can use the substitute function to replace in a little rocket ship where we want it, so that we can show it progressing towards the moon. So the substitute function takes a string, which we've got here. It takes the old text that we're going to replace, which will be a period. The new text we're going to replace it with, so that's going to be a rocket ship. And then an index, like an index number, counting in from the left. The index number is how many characters in we're going to put this rocket ship. And for that, we're going to pass in the progress field. And you'll see now that we've got this little progressing rocket ship, which goes all the way up to 20, at which point he should reach the moon at 21. There we go. So you can see that's quite a sort of playful way of using emojis. And the key aspect is that we're replacing the periods, which are much easier to replace than emojis, as I'll show you in the next example. So the next one is a bit more advanced, and it was me thinking about how I could show variance on a scale. So variance can be positive or negative away from where we want to be, and I want to show it on a sort of voltmeter. And I was thinking about how to do this, and the trouble is it's quite hard to replace emojis. So I'll show you why that is. So if we create our volt meter, yep. Okay, we just need a string in a similar way, and this string is going to contain 4 red blocks, 2, 3, 4, and another 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And within that, we're going to put some orange blocks. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And within that, we're going to put some green blocks. 2, 3, 4. And you know what? I actually don't want it to be orange. I've decided I'm going to go yellow. I think that looks better. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we got our string to start with, and just like with the moonshot, we're going to try and substitute in an arrow somewhere on this scale to show our variance. But the issue you will have is that it's quite hard to replace emojis or count in emojis. So for example, to begin with, I tried using the functions left, right, and mid. Okay, and you use these functions to manipulate strings. And the trouble is they count the number of strings in, and they're good for counting letters, but they struggle to count emojis. And that's because in Unicode, the system we use for the tracking characters, emojis count as 2 letters. But more confusingly, within Airtable's system, there seems to be a bug of some kind because it's not counting them correctly. So for example, if I put in left 4 or left 2, what it should do is count the first 2 characters of this string and return them. So I'll show you. But it doesn't. It is counting 4, which is strange because given that emojis count as 2 characters, you'd expect it to return 1. And this is a long way of me saying that just counting emojis is quite difficult in Airtable. I haven't found a good way to do it. So it's better to use the substitute function, which is what I'm going to do instead. So the trick is we will struggle to substitute the emojis because when you use a substitute function, as we previously did, you have to give it the old string. And the trouble is we've actually got 3 different colors. So how can we give it the old string that we need? Well, the trick is to put a load of periods between our emojis. So I'm going to do that to indicate the spots where we're going to put our arrow. Okay, so now that we've got those periods in there, we can pass in the period as the string we're going to replace. And then the string we're going to replace it with is a little arrow. And then the final argument is the index, which will be our variance. But because variance is a percentage, it'll come in as a decimal. So we need to times it by 10 to get it into a number we can use. So let's do that. Okay, great. So you can see now that 10% is here, 20% is counting in 2, 40% counts in 4, and that's working well. But the issue is we actually want the variance to be in the middle when it's 0. So we want it to be here. So we're going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've actually got 1 too many green squares. So I'm just going to get rid of one of our green squares. And we're going to offset the index by 10 by adding a plus 10. Okay, so now if the variance is 0, our arrow is in the middle. And if the variance is minus 10, I need to allow negative numbers again. So let's allow negative numbers. So if the variance is minus 10, you'll see it's going down in the right direction. So minus 50, it's here, 0, and plus 50. So that's working perfectly. but we've still got all these periods in the way. So all we need to do to get rid of them is nest this all in another substitute, where we're going to take the old characters, find all of them, which is the period. And so substitute will find all of them if you don't give it an index. So we're going to find all the periods and replace them with an empty string. And now we've got a real functioning voltmeter. We've got one final step, is you'll notice if we go -5, it doesn't work. And that's because it only takes whole numbers as arguments into the substitute. So we need to round everything here. So whatever this number ends up being, we need to round it to 0 decimal places, I believe. And now it will do it as best it can. So we've written 8. It's still, yeah, -8. It's being rounded to -10. So the bar is being moved correctly. So that works well. So that's a way you can substitute in for emojis to create little graphics that might help inline in your tables. Hopefully that's new to people and it's a good tip. If you want more tips like this, subscribe, go to flowcodigital.co.uk, where I'll be sharing more advanced Airtable ideas.